Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you all are doing well today. I wanted to just say something very quickly before I go and handle some business. But this is just something I want to talk to people of color about, Black people, okay? Uh, you may or may not agree with this, but I want you to understand that your freedoms and your liberties and the things that we have been given, it is by the grace and the mercy of God. Yes, there were abolitionists, there were people who fought for freedom, but nothing was going to be done unless the Lord allowed it to be so. And so I want to talk with you all about the freedoms that you have, the liberties that you do have. Yes, there are other countries and there are other people who have been given freedoms and liberties, other nations that has been where people have been held captive, who have been slaves. It was not only Black people who were slaves or held captive. We know Japanese at some point when they were in the United States, they were sent off to concentration camps. Granted, it did not end up like Hitler's concentration camps, but once the Japanese, when Japan did the bombing, then what happened of the naval base? What happened? The president at the time felt like they were not sure how the Japanese immigrants would have been, if they would have been on the side of Japan. And even though some of them were born in America, they were U.S. citizens, because they still was of Japanese descent. They were actually sent away, and they were in camps, and they were not allowed to do the things that they used to do anymore. So I am not negating other nations or other hardships and things that has happened. So that's one thing that Black people must understand, that it's not only Black people who were enslaved and mistreated and tortured. You must also understand that if you read your history, Black people were enslaving one another. It's something that's odd, where even if there's peace, there's something in the heart of humanity to just want to overtake others. So if you have Black people now, you have middle class, upper class, lower class. There's always some sort of war between the classes that really doesn't have to happen. But let me get back to my point. It's something that I want to talk to you all about. The freedoms and the liberties that you have. You may say, oh, there's still injustices. Yes, there may still be injustices. But I'm telling you, where you are today and where Black people used to be years ago, there's a vast difference. And if people were able to get an education then, people were able to learn to read and write, they still got jobs despite the atrocities that was going on. Black people today can thrive and do well. But what is happening, there is a decline, something that's going on, that people that are even in power, that has attained education and positions, and in general just have a freedom and a liberty that was not even a thought years ago. They're using it to create more racial uprising and problems. I understand that it is imperative that we speak about things that are wrong. It is imperative that you speak about things that are being done that's an injustice, things that are not balanced and that's not fair. It's okay, but there's a way to do it. A lot of times what's happening with a lot of Black people is things are being done with bitterness and hate and anger and rage, and it's going to backfire. It's going to backfire terribly. If you use your freedoms, if you use your liberty, if you use the things that you have now, and you don't be smart, and you keep going around acting like renegades and inciting hatred and racial wars and all these things, you're going to get a rude awakening. You have to understand that every freedom and liberty in America, and maybe even in other places, has been based on simply a change in the law. It was pen to paper. It was a group of people come together and bringing their cause to Congress, to the House of Representatives. Group of people come together, and if they are able to state clearly why and show reason why there needs to be change to the laws, then it happened. And I want you to know that in America, all it requires is a good argument, proof that black people are becoming a menace to society, that they are a threat, that they are creating unrest, that they are a menace to society, for changes to happen. There, if you read in the Bible, a lot of nations were overtaken, but at some point they were thriving, they were doing great, but they started to they start to lose themselves, and they allow their positions to get to their heads, and they start to use their freedoms and their wealth and whatever they had to do wrong or to make poor decisions. And the things that's really going to get a lot of people hemmed up is not knowing how to state your point, go through the proper channels. Yes, the proper channels can at times be racist, but it's not everybody that's that way. Yes, sometimes the proper channels, quote unquote, can be partial and they're not fair, but it's not everybody. But if you allow your bitterness and your anger to cause you to start to attack everybody, while it may appear to be working for a while, it is not going to last. Anything that is sparked through rage and hatred and bitterness is going to come to an end. I can't say that slavery will come back to the United States. I don't think it would necessarily happen that way. It won't be called slavery. It will be called something else. And maybe it won't be all people of color, but something will begin to happen to people who are deemed to be a threat to society, to the peace. If you don't think it will happen, keep doing what you're doing. Stop using your liberties and your freedoms to incite hatred and being a part of these groups that are, we're not talking about speaking up for what is right and speaking up for what is wrong, but there's this thing that's going on where people are tearing down everybody. Everybody's a racist. Everybody is this and that. And it really shows somewhat of a mental illness. Okay? It's like, how do I put this? Not mental illness, but black people need to heal. You need to move forward. And when I say mental illness, I'm speaking it like rhetorically, if that's make any sense. It is meant figuratively, not rhetorically. And to me, it's just like a handicap in the thinking and the mind. I hope that makes sense. Not in the sense of what people suffer every day, but there is a blindness that is there, that is steeped in the injustices that were done to people of color. And yes, there were terrible injustices. Little black children used to be used, little black babies used to be used as alligator bait. When we go to the carnival and you have the little target in the center, you throw those balls and hit that target and then you win a prize. They used to use little black children and put their faces right in there and hit little black kids in the face. It was nothing for white people back in the days, racist white people to go to church and then string up and hang a black person. Yes, it is true that there is a woman who was pregnant. She was angry that her husband had been lynched a few days before, a week prior, and she was speaking out about it, and they grabbed that black woman, hung her upside down, and cut her baby, her live baby, out of her stomach, and then stomped the baby, burned her alive. These things are real. But the liberties that you have been given, you need to have good stewardship of it. Not to be afraid, not to turn your eye the other way and act like nothing happens. But it's too much inciting that's going on. And so what's happening is, because people are not using their freedoms and using things wisely and learning how to be patient and learning how to wait and knowing when to engage and when not to, what's happening is there's a lot of innocent people that's being hurt. And it's creating a mess. People are being falsely accused. And so what you're finding, that even people that once stood for and believed in the freedoms of black people, because now they are being maligned blindly, they're starting to change their minds. And I want you to understand that no, you don't have to walk in fear. But if you keep using your freedom and doing things that's not smart, and that's just driven in hatred, and just everybody's racist, everybody's this, you must be able as accountability to see somebody, and if they've done something wrong and they're being called out on it, they're not being a person that calls them out because they're white. They can't say anything that a black person did. Guys, we can walk around as black people and say black owned, but if someone says white owned, they're racist. You're a woman of color, a proud black woman, but if someone says I'm a proud white woman, they're going to be racist. And so you have to think of the verbiage. You have to think of the things that you're saying. And then I am going to be called Uncle Tom and racist because I speak common sense. So if you have the mind to think clearly, then you're an Uncle Tom and you're a racist. The other day I went to an appointment and I had a ringtone. And it was more like a classic ringtone, the music, with classical sounds. And the person who was of color was asking me like, oh, like, why am I listening to that? Why was that odd? Because there is a mindset of some people of color that if you speak a certain way, you're acting white. If you listen to a certain kind of music that's not full of bass, then something strange about that. And so what's happening, black people are walking around, many black people, not all, are walking around with their heart on their sleeve. And you're being victims. Someone says something, it's because I'm black. Someone corrects you, it's because I'm black. You get written up for being late. Oh, it's not because you're late. It's because I'm black. If someone is removed for a position for not doing it properly, it's because I'm black. If you say that, it comes across as if, as black people, you believe you're flawed. You look in the mirror and say, it's because I'm black that I'm black. Being a brown person is not a handicap. You don't see people in a wheelchair going in and saying, oh, they walk faster than me because I'm in a wheelchair. So why is it that so many people of color are taking their race as if it's a handicap? Because that's what it is. It's because I'm black. Is being black a fault? Because that's how it sounds. That's how it comes off. You may think that certain things will never happen and that it can't happen, but it can happen. If you use your liberty and your freedom for stupidity, if you use your freedom and your liberties to attack people, innocent people, cause mayhem wherever you go, and if enough people come together, because some people, they're even attacking people in very high positions, and because they're keeping silent, you think nothing is happening. But that's something you have to understand about certain people in power and authority. They take their time and gather all their information so that when they come, they have all their ducks in a row. While many black people will be saying, it's because I'm black, it's because I'm black. I mean, you have educated black people who still run around going, it's because I'm black. Yes, there are situations where it is because you are black. But what are you doing? How are you handling that situation? The liberty and the justice, the liberty that's been given to people of color today gives you the opportunity to do things differently than just saying it's because I'm black and yelling and making and saying all these things. It's no different than when black people get upset about certain things. Some black people, they go burning and looting everything. But people are doing that socially. They may not be literally going and burning and looting things, but there's a lot of people of color who are in power that are burning and looting in a whole different way without burning one building, by spreading hatred, propaganda in some cases, making black people feel like something's wrong with us and we have to continually remind people that they've done us wrong. And ironically, they will call one another the N-word. Walk right by one another, not treat each other well. Open a business and be rude to your black customers while shucking and jiving up to the non-whites. Oftentimes, guys, this behavior has nothing to do with one injustice, but people just like to be unruly. And if there's a cause for me to argue and bully somebody, I'm going to do that. It also has to do with a lot of unresolved hurt and pain. Yes, we are in a society where things are terrible. Black children are being killed, shot. I totally get that. How does someone, a mass shooter, can be arrested without incident? And even when they're acting up, they can still be arrested without incident. But yes, a brown person, a little brown child can be hit and abused and nothing is and killed and shot. Not even disabled. They're shot center mass. I totally understand that. And I think it's wrong that as when you have your children, your talk with your children as they go out has to be so much more in depth and is completely different from what someone who is not a person of color would have to say to their child going out. I mean, just for being a brown person, you go somewhere and you walk into a place, there is a way people will look at you and just expect that, oh, they might steal something. So you're automatically being looked at with suspicion. I have gone to places where I'm waiting to get a pedicure and I see them taking a great deal of time doing pedicures on a non-white person. I'm sorry, a white person, non-black. They will take forever. I've seen this. And when it was my turn, they were going through the process really quickly, which I addressed, by the way. Okay, because I will address the matter. Hold on, stop what you're doing. Let's talk about this. That's me. And if there's a problem, just go ahead and dry my feet. And me and my dry money can get up out of here. That's me. And sometimes I don't need to say anything. And I don't go, it's because they're white. I don't do that. I address the behavior. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say it's because I'm black. Because I'm not a flaw. The problem is their behavior, and I address their behavior. And what I do, you're not going to get my business. Period. But I'm not going to create a scene up in there because not all of them are that way. I can go to another place where they pamper me and treat me just fine. These things happen. But I can't go around being a menace to society. You have to use wisdom and be led by God in how you address the matter, what needs to be said, where you need to refrain. And allowing God to move. But the truth of the matter is, black people, they lost trust in God. And so now they're going around doing things and not realizing the tables can turn. There are lots of black people, they are not doing each other right. Yes, you can go and fight against who you think is racist, but then you could be racist among yourselves. Aren't black people being racist? Some black people? They're racist because they notice their color. They're aware of their color. Who's light? Who's dark? Who's too black? I got more black people telling me I'm dark, or telling me I'm so pretty to be dark. It was black people that was telling me that. Because dark people's not really pretty. No, that's your mind that's been changed by colonialism and racism. And that's just come down the pipes. So they love the light-skinned black person, but not the dark-skinned. The light-skinned one with that's downing the dark-skinned one. The ones that want to be paper bag brown because they don't want to be shoelace brown or church shoes brown. I mean, all this stuff goes on between black people. Black people are racist against each other. There are plenty of black people that when they are done, after they get their education, they go, I don't want to marry a black person. I want to marry a white person because I want to have mixed children. Now, understand that some people will get with someone. If you love someone that's of another race, that's fine. But there's some people, they still have that hurt in them. And they're like, I want a mixed child. And then they will teach their mixed children to hate regular black kids. Oh, to feel that they're better because they have long hair versus the kinky hair of a black person. Kinky hair, nappy hair. Who said that? Black people's hair, it's versatile. It can be just as long and straight and silky as a white person's hair when you add heat to it. And then it can kink back up and have these deep curls in it. It's versatile. It's just that we've never been taught how to do our hair. It's like it's a shame. And then sometimes we're just kind of lazy, right? We don't feel like dealing with all that. I know that's how I was. I was trying to go natural and I had my waves and all that. I was like, I don't feel like doing all this. Perm. That had nothing to do with that. I hate my hair. But there are black people that hate themselves. That's why bleaching and stuff is so popular. They hate themselves. And they rub off they get that stuff and turn light, and now their features look weird because they didn't realize that when they were created, their features went with their skin tone. So they keep nipping and tucking and messing with things till all they got is just a tiny beak of a nose left. So the first thing that needs to be dealt with is the racism and the hatred that black people have for one another. Not all. I make it a point to speak to my brown people. Because there's a habit of us walking around not looking at each other, I compliment my sister. I compliment people in general if they look nice. And I'm not going to just jump on a bandwagon with someone because they black. If they did something wrong, they're wrong. I'm not going to side with a black person against a white person. It's because they're black. No, it is not. Let's deal with the issue. Guys, that's why they think there's a mentality that black people is dumb. Are dumb. because there's no use of the frontal lobe of the brain. And so they think that we're just some wild animals. You know, monkeys just gonna get together and help the other monkey. And so they expect that you're just gonna knuckle in and be angry people. You need to stop. How they gonna look at you? Oh, Planet of the Apes, uprising. Because what did they do in that show? What happened in that show? If you ever seen Planet of the Apes, which I thought was a good movie. I've seen it before. What happened? They were being mistreated. And so they were like, they got volatile and crazy. That's what animals do, not people. Yes, there are times that you have to stand up and defend yourself. But you cannot walk in hypocrisy, mistreating one another, hating each other's color, being racist among yourself, calling yourself the N-word, but you're mad if a white person do it. That word can't be forgotten because black people use it more than white people, in my opinion. Shooting each other, killing each other, hating one another. No respect for each other. And so, guys, what are you using your freedoms for? Using your freedom and your liberty to hurt one another, to disparage one another, to treat one another poorly? The respect that brown people had back in the days to now is completely different. Cursing out the elderly. So even if everything was perfect, and let's say for some people, all white people were gone, and this was an all brown world, you will still destroy one another because it's a heart matter. And all I feel in my heart to share is to use your freedom wisely. Stand up for what's wrong. But don't be incited by hatred and just constantly doing things and just following causes, because I sense within my heart, with everything, that there's going to be some, cracking down that's going to happen eventually. And the behaviors of many black people today, brown people, all that stuff is going to be taken into account. And there will be a thought that there needs to be control. Look what they're doing with their freedoms. They cannot be trusted with it. We have to change things. We're going to have to initiate some changes. There are going to be some words that's going to be called initiative, safeguards. You'll hear these words. Am I saying that you need to be mousy and not speak your mind? No. But stop being crazy with your freedom. Stop following people who are hypocrites. Stop enabling people and their bad behavior. If someone has done something wrong, they need to be called out on it. And it should not just be, oh, they're black, let's just turn a blind eye. Well, white people do it. Is it right? No, it's not. So you don't follow that. So guys, I'm going to go. That's all I have to say. God gave you your liberty. God gave you your justice. God gave you your freedom. And he didn't give it to you so you can become unwise, and you can become bitter, and you can become hateful, because bitterness and anger and all that stuff, guys, it will lead to destruction. All right, guys. God bless.